Hello, my name is Sydney Shapiro, and I'm going to be talking about the STEM Aquaponics project that we did earlier in the year. I'm part of the grade 10 STEM cohort. Aquaponics is a style of farming using both fish and plants in a closed system, where the fish and the plants interact with each other to feed each other instead of having the need for soil or to change your water. The nitrogen cycle is the core concept that aquaponics thrives on. The nitrogen comes into the system via protein that goes to the fish, right here, and then it cycles through ammonia and then a different amount of bacteria in the water that'll filter it into something that the plants can digest, and the plants eventually purify the water right here so the fish have clean water. Our class divided up all the steps to make the perfect aquaponics system into different groups. Stuff like pH sensors, the structural team who's going to build everything, water pumping, and the lighting systems. My group was focused on the feeder, so we defined this auto fish feeder. It uses two servos, which each connect to two tubes that have a whole bunch of little holes in the bottom. And then the tubes themselves are filled with food, and when the servos rotate, a small amount of food falls out, based on how many times you rotate the servo. The tubes each had plugs in the bottom, so we could easily remove and insert more food to make the system refillable. My role in the project was to design the code. Okay, so the code has a couple of key elements. First off, the whole thing is repeated in a loop, so it's going to be kept running forever, over and over again. Secondly, it has this if input equals 3. So I created a function that is input, and every time, if it equals 3, when we finally get to this counter, it will run the code within inside of it. And in this case, it's the feed function, which makes the servo spin. That's what feeds the fish. Lastly, in the loop, there's something called tick, which is down here. Now the tick is what increases the input counter. If the input counter reaches 3, then it'll run the fish thing. You can change how many ticks it takes for the if input to actually run, and to change how long it takes for something to be fed. The reason I like this project so much is I was really challenged for it. I was forced to spend a solid week trying to figure out how to connect two servo motors to one Arduino. It was a puzzling task, and I spent a lot of time researching and testing, prototyping, and eventually, finally, by the end, I figured out a way to do it using two different power supplies to power both of the motors. In the project, I learned about debugging and testing in regards to electronics and coding. I was forced to trial and error the same thing over and over again, testing for all of the small mistakes to make sure everything worked perfectly, to finally find what was wrong. The project in the end was never fully completed. We never had plants growing with our fish at the same time. And I think what I have to do for future projects is to really push, take the extra time and parts of the project that aren't necessarily mine, to come in and go after school to get something done so we have the entire project complete.